Welcome back, everyone, to Occult Archives,
Yes, welcome back.
where we like to do these deep dives into these old books that people throughout history have been kind of whispering about, like, oh, don't read that. That's dangerous.
Right. Not for the faint of heart, that's for sure.
Exactly. And today we're looking at Benedictus Figulus and his golden and blessed casket of nature's marvels.
Yeah, a classic in the world of alchemy. This book is all about, like, the big secrets,
Yeah.
transforming matter, extending life, the philosopher's stone, the whole 9 yards.
Golden and blessed casket. I mean, the title itself, right? It sounds like it's just like overflowing with secrets and treasure.
Oh, for sure. And that's exactly what Figulus was going for.
So what we're going to try and do in this deep dive is, basically figure out what Figulus was actually trying to say. What did he believe these substances could do? How did his ideas fit into the bigger picture of alchemy?
And the best part, we're going straight to the source. We're reading excerpts from Figulus's own golden and blessed casket. You're getting these ideas exactly as he wrote them hundreds of years ago.
No filter. So let's get started, shall we?
Let's do it.
We're starting with something pretty interesting, something that gets right to the heart of the philosopher's stone.
You're talking about the epigram by Alexander de S. It's like super short, but man, it's packed with symbolism.
Yeah, it starts with dissolving a living body with Apollo's fire so that a stone can become a spirit. What do you think that means?
Well, to me, it seems like it's saying that in alchemy, you got to break things down, even violently before you can build something new and better, something more refined.
And then it talks about extracting gold to purify impure ores from the dross of their mother. That's more than just like making gold, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's about purification, like taking something impure and making it pure, like refining it to its essence.
Okay, and then it gets even weirder. There's the separation of bones washed with water, and then a multicolored bird appears, becomes white, and flies away.
Right, like stages of a process, transformations, could be different changes happening, and the white might represent purity, like a spiritual rising or something.
And then they paint this bird's wings with new fire and its own milk, and feed it blood until it can handle the heat of Mulciber, which is basically Vulcan, the Roman god of fire.
Yeah, like they're testing it, pushing it to its limits, making it strong and resilient.
And this bird, this special bird, is linked to Hermes Trismegistus, that big name in Hermeticism. And they say the whole world has not. It's like super unique and valuable.
Totally. And then the epigram ends with this, like, desperate plea for this blessed, long-desired bird to be born. It shows how much these alchemists wanted to make this transformation happen.
So all of this imagery, what do you think it's trying to tell us about how the Philosopher's Stone is made?
Well, it seems to be about dissolving something, purifying it with water and fire, going through all these changes, and then ending up with something super pure, powerful, and long-lasting, the Philosopher's Stone.
Okay, that's quite a start. Now, Figulus includes this other text, the Book of the Revelation of Hermes, which Paracelsus interpreted, and this one really gets into the nitty-gritty of this supreme secret.
Yeah, and it starts with something that's always been on people's minds, like how to cheat death, how to live forever.
Yeah, like Hermes, Plato, Aristotle, they were all trying to figure out how to keep the body from decaying.
And the answer they supposedly got is that while our bodies will die, there is this one thing that can, like, slow down the decay, make you young again, and make you live a super long time.
This one thing, they compare it to the heavens, like it's the fifth substance. Not earth, water, air, or fire, but something else, something perfect and indestructible.
Right, it's beyond the elements. It's described as a perfect balance of everything, a mix of the natural and the spiritual, body and soul.
There's even a story about Aristotle making an apple that could make you live longer just by smelling it.
Crazy, right? And they say this spiritual essence was revealed to Adam in the Garden of Eden, like the ultimate secret.
Then Morianus comes in and gives us this massive list of all the things the spirit of the fifth substance can do. It's not just living longer, it's like having everything you could ever want.
Yeah, health, wealth, happiness, control over nature, getting rid of poverty, fulfilling your wishes, everything. It's like the ultimate wish fulfillment.
But then there's this big warning, right? They say that regular people can't understand this without God's help or a teacher who already knows the secret.
Exactly. This knowledge was super secret, not for everyone.
Then Avicenna, another big name, calls this spirit the soul of the world, like it's the same thing that makes our bodies alive.
So it's everywhere and in everything.
And then there's this really poetic description, it's like, sought by many, found by few, far away yet near, everywhere yet with unique powers.
Yeah, like it's hidden in plain sight, but you need a special kind of knowledge to see it.
And they say that the philosophers hid this knowledge on purpose, using riddles and secret language.
They were afraid that if the wrong people got their hands on it, the world would be destroyed. They saw it as a huge responsibility.
Okay, then they go into detail about the 5 different forms the spirit can take.
Right, it starts as an impure earthly body that can heal basic stuff, and then it gets more and more powerful as it changes.
So like the watery body can cure fevers and poisons, purify blood, and the aerial body can give you beauty and strength, prevent sadness, even heal withered limbs.
And then you get to the fiery form, and this is where it gets really intense. This is like the elixir of life.
Yeah, they say it can bring people back from the brink of death and make old people young again. That was the ultimate goal for many alchemists.
Totally. And then the final form, the glorified and illuminated forms, like pure magic, bringing dead trees back to life, eternal lamps, turning crystals into gems, healing anything. It's the pinnacle of alchemy.
And this leads to the idea that the spirit of the world and the spirit of our bodies are the same thing, this universal life force connecting everything.
Right, and the heat from the sun and moon, that's just a purer form of it, they say.
They call it the nature of the world, the philosopher's primal mind, all these big names for the same idea.
And the fifth essence, that's the bridge between that cosmic heat and the stuff we eat. It's what lets it affect our bodies.
So they believed that when those 3 things, the sun and moon's heat, this 5th essence, and our food mixed together, they create the purest blood, which can basically make you immune to disease.
It's like a super holistic view of health connected to the universe.
And they even say that the whole world is present in one drop of this same medicine, meaning everything is interconnected.
But here's the catch.
Yeah.
They say you can't just buy this 5th essence at the apothecary.
And because of that, they actually criticize apothecaries, saying they're basically selling poison.
And they go after doctors, too, saying that they don't even understand the true source of healing the sun and moon.
So they're pushing this alchemical medicine as the real deal, the key to health and long life.
And they say that this medicine comes from the soul and spirit of the world, making it the most powerful medicine there is.
They even say it could give you the same long life as the biblical patriarchs if you use it right and eat well.
And remember that quote, "In one drop, the whole world is present." They really believed in the power of this medicine.
And they connect it to all sorts of legends, like the Philosopher's Stone, Asclepius' healing, and Medea's magical herbs. It's like they're putting their work in line with all these ancient traditions.
Exactly. And the golden fleece, that wasn't just some treasure. It was like a secret book with the recipe for this medicine written on it in gold.
So alchemy and medicine, they both come from this world soul, they say. And there's even talk of a generative spirit that makes life continue, so they were really interested in the forces behind nature.
Now here's the thing. This secret, they didn't just spell it out for anyone to read. They hid it in all this symbolic language.
Yeah, they used principal circumlocutions, which are basically ways of talking around something without actually saying it directly.
It's like a riddle wrapped in a mystery.
They give this big list of descriptions for this strongest creature, and they're all contradictory, like it's conservative, but penetrative, volatile, but unalterable.
It's like they're trying to confuse you on purpose.
It's accessible but hidden, part of man, but also begets man. Heavy but soft, sweet but also fetid. They even mess with your senses, saying it's pleasant but sounds obtuse.
It's mind-boggling.
It's everywhere but nowhere, and it comes from heaven and earth. It's active and passive, masculine and feminine, a mix of soul, spirit, and body. It's like the ultimate paradox.
And they say this is the key to alchemy, medicine, and natural magic, the foundation of it all.
They call it the first and last, the red or Adamic earth. And if you can understand it, they say you can live a long, healthy life and create gold and silver and all sorts of amazing things.
The reward is pretty huge, right?
Yeah, no kidding. And they say the goal of both chemistry and medicine is the same, to separate this pure quintessence, this spirit, this heat, the soul of the world.
And the true physician, the real alchemist, they can do that. They understand the elements and how to purify them without breaking them apart. They use the sun and moon's heat and the world's spirit to heal and transmute.
But those who just mess around with phonuses and chemicals, they don't get it.
They're just scratching the surface.
Then we get this interesting conversation between Bernhardus and Alexander about this universal medicine. Bernhardus starts by saying that humans have an inner and outer part, and each needs its own medicine.
The outer part, our physical body, it's made of basic stuff, so its medicine also has to come from basic stuff.
Yeah.
Paracelsus calls it stercora, which basically means filth.
But the medicine isn't the filth itself, right?
No, it's something pure that you extract from it, like refining it through alchemy.
And they talk about using dung to make a medicine for tartar. Pretty gross, but it shows how they believed you could find healing even in the most disgusting things.
It's all about transformation. And Paracelsus said that both the outer and inner medicines have a head, a main principle connecting them.
Then they talk about these substances, columbum and gallinaceum, and whether they are the outer medicine. It's really hard to understand what Paracelsus meant. He was always so cryptic.
Yeah, he loved his secrets.
Then Bernhardus explains that mercury doesn't just mean quicksilver. It's a universal principle, like water, that's in everything.
So it's not just the metal, it's a concept.
Exactly. And he says that metallic mercury is like frozen water that's been infused with this generating spirit, which is what turns it into metal.
This dry water and generating spirit, those are key ideas, they say.
Alexander realizes that he needs to learn more about metals to understand mercury, and Bernhardus tells him to study, but also to get his hands dirty.
Experience is key in alchemy. Seeing and handling is necessary, he says.
He even quotes that, saying, "The ocular witness of one is better than the hearsay evidence of 10.
Direct experience trumps book knowledge.
And to really understand tartar, you gotta understand mercury, even though it's a big secret."
But Bernhardus is hopeful. Time brings roses, he says. Time also reveals nature's secrets.
He doesn't want to give away the secrets too early, though, unlike some of those Paracelsian doctors who were running around talking a big game.
Yeah, lots of talk, little action. Bernhardus doesn't like that. He thinks they don't really understand.
He wants to teach students the right foundation of alchemy and medicine first, before they get lost in details.
Don't just focus on antimony or gold. Understand the principles behind them.
And don't take terms like Tartarus auri or Mercurius precipitatus literally. They have deeper spiritual meanings.
It's all about divine understanding.
Just messing around with tincture of mercury or potable gold without understanding what they really mean is pointless, they say.
Seek the foundation, not the superficial details.
So the conversation between Bernhardus and Alexander continues, and they start talking about how people are interpreting Paracelsus, especially when it comes to mercury.
Bernhardus is skeptical of this one doctor from Paris who seems to have it all figured out. He thinks maybe this guy's just simplifying things too much.
Yeah, like if it's too easy to understand, maybe you're missing something important.
Exactly. Bernhardus sees it as just one guy's opinion, not the ultimate truth.
And Alexander admits that he used to take things literally too, but now he sees that there's something deeper to this mercury thing.
He brings up Kastner, who wrote that mercury is this ultimate secret, unlike anything else in the world.
So Bernhardus, talking to Alexander like a fellow chemist, explains how Paracelsus describes mercury as the internal medicine that gets rid of bad stuff in the body.
He makes a distinction between dead mercury, which you get from ore, and living quicksilver, the regular metal.
And they talk about all the different ores like cinnabar and minium.
And here's the key. Paracelsus is talking about mercury that's already dead in the ore, and extracting it doesn't change that.
Bernhardus then criticizes this guy Erastus for not understanding the difference between mercury and hydrargyrum, which is just the fancy word for quicksilver.
Erastus should know better, he says.
And this leads to them bashing some alchemists who are all talk and no substance.
Like, they pretend to have all this knowledge, but they're just trying to scam people.
And Alexander's actually lost money because of these guys.
It's easy to get fooled, especially when you're desperate for this kind of knowledge.
Yeah, Bernhardus agrees you can't trust just anyone.
But Alexander brings up a good point. Sometimes God gives knowledge to simple people, even if they're not educated.
True, but Bernhardus is still skeptical. He doesn't believe those who claim to have divine knowledge without understanding the science behind it.
He makes fun of those who just mix mercury with acid or boil it with gold, like that's somehow the big secret.
And he tells this story about Erastus giving oil of vitriol to someone, which actually killed them. Vitriol's dangerous stuff if you don't know what you're doing.
A real cautionary tale.
So they come back to Paracelsus's idea of separation, getting the dead mercury from its ore.
And they talk about how the ore of quicksilver doesn't have the sulfuric spirit that kills the mercury, while other ores have their own spirits.
Then Bernhardus points out that Paracelsus actually mentions a kind of quicksilver that can kill the sulfur of mercury.
Alexander's like, wait, what? I've never heard of that.
So Bernhardus tells him to go back and read Paracelsus more carefully.
And Alexander admits that he skipped that part.
Oops. Then Bernhardus asks about this medium between regular mercury and the mercury of metals, and Alexander hasn't found anything about that in the ore.
And Bernhardus suggests that maybe it's a secret because there's a poison in this ore that could hurt people who don't know how to handle it.
They then talk about how alchemists make this medicine in different ways, some for healing, some for transmutation.
But the great art, Bernhardus says, is not just separating the mercury, but also digesting it at full strength.
Not many people know how to do that, he says.
And crude mercury is basically a poison until you do that.
Even Bernhardus used to think that separating it was enough.
Alexander gets the separation part. But the digestion and perfecting, that's what he doesn't know.
Bernhardus says that's where the tincture of the sun and moon comes in. It digests the mercury, transmutes metals, and gets rid of poisons.
Alexander's skeptical again. He doesn't understand these tinctures. He doesn't even think anyone's ever actually seen them.
It's true that it was really hard to find these tinctures and make the perfect medicines.
But Bernhardus says that those who really use their minds can figure it out, even if people call them crazy.
Okay, now they start talking about how a lot of the old medical books written by the Magi are gone.
All we have left are the signs, they say, the herbs and trees on earth.
Those are God's books, they say. They don't give you health directly, but they show you how to find it if you understand God's design.
It's like religious rituals. They guide you, but they're not the goal themselves.
They even ask why doctors don't throw out herbs that don't work like the books say they should, just like some people reject religious rules that don't seem to get them closer to God.
The earth keeps making plants, even if they don't cure everything. Just like churches stay decorated, even if everyone's not saved.
So plants are signs pointing to medicine, not medicine itself.
Like sacraments point to God.
They give this example of chelidonium, which is supposed to cure jaundice, but some book-learned doctors can't make it work.
The fault isn't with God or the plants, they say, but with the doctor's understanding.
So they praise chelidonium for still being in God's book nature, even if it doesn't work every time.
And they say the Magi gave us plants to teach us medicine after their books were lost.
They don't like those who just write big books about herbs based on their own opinions, like they're mistaking the symbol for the real thing.
They even complain about all the money spent on medical books and education when people are still dying from leprosy and dropsy.
What's the point of all that learning if it can't help you in the real world?
They then compare it to astronomy. We've lost the old magic books about the stars, but we still have the sun, moon, and stars themselves.
But some people confuse the stars with what they represent, like thinking the shell of a nut is the good part.
Regular folks can see the stars, but only those who are divinely taught can understand their deeper meaning.
There's even this other heaven, they say, another firmament, another sun and moon that regular people don't know about.
And they tie it into the idea of the Messiah being foreshadowed in the old religions.
It all leads to this concept of two worlds, two heavens, two earths. Theology, astronomy, and medicine, they're all connected across these worlds.
Okay, so now let's jump into Alexander von Suchten's explanation of the natural philosopher's tincture. He starts with this interesting bit about the Jews not letting anyone under 30 read the first chapter of Genesis.
Whether that's true or not, the point is that he thinks that chapter has all these secrets about creation hidden in it.
And he thinks it's super relevant to alchemy. Like God's creation is the blueprint for making the philosopher's stone.
Then he talks about Theophrastus's Tinctura Physicorum and how he followed God's way in his alchemy.
Von Suchten wants to help people understand Theophrastus's book, both the theory and the practice.
He says Theophrastus is like Moses, first he talks about these general principles and then he shows how God made them into specific things.
And a big idea is that the matter of the tincture is one thing, but it has 3 hidden things inside that you got to get out using fire or water and then put back together.
It's like that saying of Christ about being one and many at the same time.
And a lot of the alchemists agreed on this, like Geber, who said there's one stone, one medicine that you don't add anything to or take anything from.
Bernhardus talked about a single root. Marina said the main substance is one. Agadmon said nature's happy with just one thing. And Hermes said everything comes from one.
Even Hercules gets thrown in there, saying that alchemy starts from one thing, branches out, and then comes back to one.
It's all about unity.
And von Suchten says that if there's no contradiction, then you've probably found the truth.
And he asks, if God made the whole world from one thing, why would we need more than one thing to do alchemy?
Alchemy should imitate nature. And nature starts with one thing, so alchemy should too.
Genesis says the first thing was like water, and even the heavens came from water.
And Hermes Trismegistus, in his book Pymander, talks about this watery stuff being the source of everything and how it got split into fire, air, earth, and water.
Even Plato thought water was the beginning of the universe.
Theophrastus agrees with the one source idea, but he says it's made of three things: eagle, lion, and golden glitter.
Or in other words, mercury, salt, and sulfur. And those match up with Hermes' spirit, body, and soul.
And the alchemist's job is to separate these three and then put them back together.
So what is this one thing, this source of everything? They call it the red lion.
Yeah, they say they could call it water or something more obvious, but they don't want just anyone to know about it.
It's hidden from regular people and even demons.
They call it the lion because it's super strong, like the king of the beasts.
And Hermes says, this matter is the strongest strength of all strength.
Those who know how to use it can control and change everything.
Hermes even says, behold, it conquers every subtle and penetrates every solid substance.
Dionysius Zacharias calls it a governor, and Bernhardus calls it a king because it can withstand anything.
The lion is a good symbol because it represents this perfect blend of elements that nothing can break apart.
Bernhardus says this lion is named by many, but known by few. Everyone talks about it, but few understand it.
And he says it's everywhere, something we can't live without, something God used in creation.
Marianus says the same thing.
Everyone knows this thing, they say. Even little kids are drawn to it.
It's like our inner selves know that it can give us health and long life.
And they say it's the greatest pearl and noblest treasure upon earth, second only to the human mind.
If you're smart, they say, you can figure out what it is by looking at nature and how God made things.
Then they bring up Theophrastus's De Viribus Spiritualium and his idea of the spirit of life, this invisible force connected to the stars.
Cornelius Agrippa said you could use magnets to pull this spirit from the stars into your body.
And Richard the Englishman said you should use the things that are most full of this spirit for your work.
Now let's get into the practical stuff, the three principles. The lion becomes the white eagle, two from one, like God did with creation.
God made everything from one thing.
The white eagle, that's Mercury, it comes out of the red lion, which is Earth, and it takes the golden glitter with it.
That golden glitter is the fixed sulfur, the sun's power.
Bernhardus says the eagle is extracted from the lion through alchemy.
The lion keeps its name, but it's changed because the spirit's been working on it. Now it gives birth to the eagle, like this weird story of a virgin having a baby.
Hermes calls the heavier, more material stuff gross or descending, and he says its real name is solar and natural heat.
And the third thing, the spirit, Theophrastus says it's the glitter of gold, the real gold that nature didn't finish making.
Others call it the soul of the world, whose color is golden.
When God created the universe, his spirit didn't separate from the water and earth.
And in alchemy, you can't get this golden glitter by itself. It hides when you divide the original unity.
It stays with the water or the earth. Like, remember how the Israelites weren't allowed to eat blood? They thought the soul was in the blood.
So this golden glitter, they call it the lion's blood, the red stuff that's left over after the first distillation.
The whole point of alchemy is to make the gold come out of the retort.
This golden glitter, the soul, it floats above the water after you get it out of the lion's body. But a soul needs a body to exist, so it gets a new one in the fire.
But it's not fire itself, it's fire of nature.
Aurelius Agarella says you got to pull these hidden parts from pure blood and use the elements to make them visible.
Otherwise, they'd just disappear.
A spirit can't be trapped anywhere it doesn't belong.
And this body, it's the lion, the red earth with the blood that can't go anywhere.
Raimundus Lullius says quicksilver is water from earth is quicksilver with life, and the soul is the heat that's in the elements of this living mercury.
It's all connected.
And they say this is like a key to understanding Theophrastus.
You got to take two things from the starting matter. The eagle, which is mercury, and the body, which is salt with the golden glitter, the gold seed, inside.
Like Medea cutting up Jason and then putting him back together.
It's about understanding how one becomes two and two becomes three.
Theophrastus then talks about putting this theory into practice. You got to understand what's going on before you start doing stuff.
He talks about two ways to do it. The old way, which takes forever, and his own shorter way.
The old way started with one thing and made two, water and earth, from it. Like God creating the world.
They called these two things lily.
But it doesn't really matter if you start with one or two, because nature's already turned the one into two.
Carreriensis says the first element is either water or earth, depending on who you ask.
And then he says there was one element at the beginning of the world which got split into the four elements.
Aurelius Augurellus says there's a double force inside everything, acting and being acted on, like male and female.
So if you start with one, you got to make two. But if you start with two, earth and water, you save yourself some trouble.
You just got to make the third thing, which is hidden in one of them.
The lion's blood, they say it's like the bride, the red sulfur, the gold seed.
But it's trapped in the earth, all dirty and impure.
You need a master of fire to free it.
The old alchemists, they were all about freeing these trapped souls from darkness.
They would combine the two things, let them rot for a month, and then gently distill the water out.
But this water, you can't heat it up too much.
They'd then take what's left and use a strong water to get a dry spirit out of it.
They compare it to the smell of incense in Solomon's Song.
This dry spirit, that's the lion's body. A stingy earth that doesn't want to give up its gold. You got to force it out.
They call it a dry spirit because it's full of fire. It's the real sulfur, the thing that transmutes metals.
Richard the Englishman said sulfur is like pure fire from the driest earth.
But you can't get all the oil out at once, so you got to keep moistening the leftovers and distilling them again and again.
They keep doing this until the earth is completely gone and you've gotten all the gold out of it.
Dionysius says it's like the leader of a city running away while his soldiers fight a fire and then escape over water.
Like Aeneas and the golden branches that grew back.
And the golden drops that come out, that's the lion losing its heart and blood.
They compare it to the Lion of Judah shedding his blood for his people.
Bernhardus says that once you've gotten everything out of the earth, you got to purify the water and oil.
That's when you reach the pure source, the golden book, like Adam and Eve seeing the truth about themselves.
This purification gets rid of anything left over from the first distillation.
It's like the first stage of being born, going back into the womb, following God's plan.
It's about separating the pure from the impure, bringing the gold out of the darkness.
But the old way was expensive and took forever.
Von Sichten says Theophrastus found a shortcut. You just take the lion's blood and the eagle's white part.
And then you combine them, like mixing male and female seeds.
But that sounds like the old way, just mixing the blood with water.
Theophrastus isn't super clear about it.
You gotta read his other stuff and know how to do alchemy to understand it.
There are two main ways to prepare these secrets: distillation and extraction, which is also called solution.
Bernhardus says, the king never goes forth except the fountain attract him.
So they're saying distillation's no good, too much work. They're using solution.
Keled says solution is like bringing the hidden stuff to the surface.
Theophrastus means that after you separate the two things, forget the old way.
Just take the lion's blood, like cutting out its heart or killing it with mercury.
Basically, extract the earth's secret and the gold will come right out.
This way, you can do in hours what used to take months.
You can finish the whole thing in a year, while the old way could barely get started in that time.
But they don't tell you exactly how to.